you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. You've got a responsibility to go back to Lodabar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. That's the name of the Lord. Somebody got to tell themselves, it's all right if you got it now, just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You've got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now. 90.7 next week, you might try to stop me from getting WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the Spoken Word, another edition of the Spoken Word radio broadcast. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African-American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It's a minute past 9 a.m. and I want to welcome you all to another remote edition of the spoken word. And I got so much I want to try to deal with today because it is the day before primary election day here in Massachusetts. And I just think that we might ought to be talking about the election. And in the middle of that as well, we've got 46 minus 1 inciting violence all over the nation. The president of these yet to be United States of America is the dude who is inciting violence. He's encouraging his followers to go to cities where civil unrest is ensuing and be violent. You know, the vigilantes, the armed white vigilantes. He thinks that they ought to go and keep black people in check, keep the niggers in line, you know, and he's celebrating them as patriots. So the young white vigilante Kyle Rittenhouse and others who roll into cities that they don't live in so that they can keep black people and their allies who are protesting injustice in check. You know, he thinks that's good. He thinks that's what these so-called patriots ought to be doing. Um, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. 413-337-1867 is the number here. Do me a favor, rep your city, rep your town. Not only that, but what I need you to do as well, I need you to like, I need you to share, I need you to subscribe, I need you to do all that good stuff. Let somebody else know that the bishop is on the air right now, and we got to play catch up. Thank you, Jim. Our remote director let me know we are live on WTCC right now. So listen, rep your city, rep your town, like, share, all that stuff. Good morning, Clifford Payne. Good morning, Rod Alexander. Good morning, Cosby. Yeah, he is lawless. Kim Ware is in the house. Kimberly, good morning to you. Kenneth Wilson, good morning. Michael Hinton over on the YouTube side. Be sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube side. Also on the Periscope / Twitter side. Do me a favor and share as well. Let everybody know the bishop is back. I wasn't with you last Monday, but I am with you today. We'll talk about the March on Washington. I was honored to be a speaker there, went there for Friday. And the two main pieces of legislation that we were pushing to be passed. Let you know about all of that kind of stuff that's happening. All right, so tell somebody right now, get it on, let them know we are on the air. Don't you dare touch that dial. We're going to be right back.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from, and hated. But it just made me stronger, and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. Don't go down. I rose above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. All right now. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love, I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me, and brought me out of darkness so that I could see. That I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me, he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. She's looking good. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
Doesn't matter what form of protest we take on. They said you ought to be more like Dr. King. And I have to remind all of white America, when Dr. King locked arms and marched nonviolently, y'all put water hoses on them. You sick dogs on them. You put batons upside their head. You shot them and killed them and murdered them and lynched them in the street when we were nonviolent. How dare you tell us to go back to being nonviolent when you didn't hear us then? It really doesn't matter what form of protest we take to redress our grievances. White America is yet not willing to hear us. The president said yesterday that we hear you. He said, we hear your pleas. We support the right to nonviolent protest. He's a liar, and his mama is too. Because when
Kaepernick and others were kneeling nonviolently, this same president stood on his bully pulpit and called them thugs and called them hoodlums, and white America stood up and said they were unpatriotic. Well, if we can't kneel nonviolently and protest and be heard, maybe, God help me here, they gotta loot Target and burn down police stations in order to get your attention. And wait, let me pause parenthetically right there and say unto you, I'm tired of y'all who are tripping about Target being looted, but you ain't tripping about the targets of white supremacy being murdered. Oh, God help me preach it. Think that when his nation is burning from the East Coast to the West Coast, that he would get up and try to unite people, try to bring people together, try to condemn the social injustice that brought us to this point. But no, he wants to thugify black folk. When white folk came to Michigan, armed to the teeth, carrying AR-15 rifles, dressed in combat gear. Come on, somebody, carrying nooses and waving racist Confederate flags. He called them very good people and demanded that the governor of Michigan cut a deal with them and talk to them. But when black folk came to protest the unjust murder of black people, he called us thugs. Yeah, thugification, demonization, and criminalization are all attempts at ultimately dehumanizing us. Because if we can prove that someone is less than human, then we can justify killing them.
All right, back with you. Hopefully you shared. Hopefully you let somebody know that the bishop was on the air, and got it out to your followers, and all that good stuff. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me see who we got up in the hizzy. Let me see who's in the hizzy. Who's in here? I already shouted out some of y'all. All right, when y'all start repping, I'll start shouting. All right. I see you, Aunt Marion. I see you up in here. Hey, Auntie. Michael Moore, I see you. I see you up in the house. So listen, I hope y'all been paying attention. Last week, Kyle Rittenhouse shot 2 people in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Last night, somebody got shot in Portland and killed with a clash between Trump's minions and Black Lives Matter protesters. Here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. These white supremacists think they have a right. No, they literally think it is their God-given right to go to cities and towns in America where people are protesting against the extrajudicial murder of black people, protesting against injustice in America, armed with guns to keep black folk and their allies in check. They think they have a right to do this, and they think that law enforcement should automatically support them in their vigilantism. Support them. So-called white Christians started a crowd fund to pay for the legal expenses of Kyle Rittenhouse after he murdered 2 people. Christians justifying murder. White evangelical Christians. Okay? Okay? White evangelical Christians raising money. And they had a goal at the last time I looked at it, they had a goal of $200,000. And at that time, they had raised 167,000 of it. I don't know how much. They probably have reached their goal by now. Who knows? But they are willing to spend $250,000 to defend a white supremacist murderer. That ought to tell you something about the state of white evangelicalism when they are willing to spend money to defend white supremacist murderers. Murderers. There are people who are calling this guy a patriot. Ann Coulter. Someone tweeted out, I want Kyle Rittenhouse for my security. Ann Coulter retweeted and said, I want him as my president. I guess since Trump failed to go out on Fifth Avenue and shoot and kill somebody, she wanted to get her a president who was really willing to get his gun and go and shoot and kill people. This is the right wing so-called Christian community. It's insane, which is the reason why it is important for you to vote, because these folk are crazy. And we cannot allow for these white supremacists, white evangelicals who are really synonymous with white supremacists to keep their candidate in the White House. They're trying to depict, here's the thing, they're trying to depict the scenes across America of civil unrest as Joe Biden's America. They're saying, look, you're not going to be safe in Biden's America. Now, here's the irony of it. You're showing pictures of cities on fire, violence in the streets, and trying to scare people about this is what Biden's America is going to look like. But you're taking video footage of what's actually happening in Trump's America. Just think about the irony of that. You're going to take video footage of what's happening in Trump's America and say, look at what you need to be afraid of in Biden's America. Make it make sense for me. This is actually happening in Trump's America, but you're trying to say this depicts Biden's America. I'm not understanding it. I don't get it. So they're basically trying to depict protests over racial injustice as this law and order campaign issue, attacking everyone else while they refuse to condemn the vigilante violence and tout Donald Trump as the one who will be the catalyst to a peaceful America, when it's under his watch that chaos is ensuing. Somebody help me understand it, because I ain't getting it. I don't get it. Help me understand how you gonna say Trump is the dude that's going to bring peace in America when it's Trump's America that's falling apart. I mean, the illogical argument is mind blowing, and his people are eating it up. His people are eating it up. I mean, you got the backdrop of this still raging coronavirus outbreak that has killed over 180,000 people and infected nearly 5 million, with only 10% of less than 10% of the population even being tested. I mean, the White House keeps offering clear signals of this calculated strategy of basically exploiting the fears of voters around violence as Trump's campaign strategy. We're going to exploit. If you don't reelect Trump, you're going to have black people, in your neighborhoods. You're going to have violence on the streets. You're going to have civil unrest. You're going to have all this craziness happening. He's trying to stoke the fears of his base. It's the same strategy. If you remember 2 years ago during the 2018 um, midterm elections, he employed the exact same strategy. Remember, he spent weeks warning people about these caravans of migrants that were trying to reach the U.S. border. Y'all watch out. They got these violent rapists, gang banging brown people who are in caravans trying to reach the border with Mexico. You know, got to watch out for them. Stoking fears. It's the same strategy that they're using right now. And then this dude has the nerve now. The governor of Wisconsin is telling him, no, stay home. He wants to visit Kenosha tomorrow, where one of his supporters murdered two people. Nobody wants you there, Trump. He wants to visit the place where 29-year-old black man Jacob Blake was left paralyzed after being shot in the back by police 7 times. This is the guy who's stoking fears, inspiring violence, um, all of that. And Blake's mama is running around here talking about forgiveness. When are we going to be done with that foolery? Announcing forgiveness on white supremacists 24 hours after they shoot us or murder us. When the hell are we going to be done with that foolishness? 413-337-1867. And Trump wants to meet with Blake's family. And of course, the I've forgiven was the indication that he'd be able to do it because, oh, good, we got another black family talking about forgiving white supremacists. So we should be able to meet with her and exploit this whole can we all just get along stuff. We can exploit this, you know, this foolery. I mean, both in John's family did that mess. Bishop, you shouldn't tell people how to grieve. I'm not telling people how to grieve. What I do know as a pastor for 26 years, okay, what I do know as someone who was trained in pastoral counseling, what I do know is that the process of grieving takes much longer than the 48 hours after your loved one is shot or killed. I do know that the forgiveness process takes much longer than these black folks are running out here pronouncing forgiveness on white supremacists. I know that they haven't gone through the process. I do know that. And I do know that you go through a whole lot of other things right? You go through denial, grief, anger. You go through a whole lot of other things long before you get to the point of forgiveness. It's not natural. It's not normal for anybody to be announcing, I forgive the cops who just shot my son in the back 7 times and paralyzed him 24 hours after it happened while your son is still laying up in the hospital and you don't know if he's going to live or die. That's not authentic. That's post traumatic slavery syndrome. That's not natural. White folks get to actually be human and grieve. They get to say, never again. They get to say, we're never going to forget. You understand? How is it that they get to say all of that, but black folk can't go through the grieving process? I'm trying to figure out what the problem is, why we can't grieve properly when everybody else can. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. I got to see you in DC. I didn't know that you were speaking, and I got there really early. I started on the line at 6:30 a.m. So
you
right
started
when I got
early,
to
yeah.
the front, I got to the front. I thought I heard them say your name, but I recognized your voice right away, and I got to hear and record your speech, and it was powerful. And because so many people were still getting temped and getting their bans at that hour, I hope you repost that speech over and over again. And it comes down to exactly what you're saying is there. So I live outside of Charlotte. I moved to Charlotte from New York City, and there's a South Museum, it's called. So it's basically telling you the development of Charlotte, how it developed. So it was a predominantly, a lot of the cotton mills, and they had a lot of the homes that were where the enslaved lived, and the development from there. The one thing that, because coming from New York City, I didn't know a lot of the Southern enslavement. I didn't know visually what they used to do here. And with the Jim Crow, I knew about it, but they take that history away from school.
Mm-hmm.
They don't teach these things because white people like to, and they're raised in their own homes this way. Now, I'm not saying all white people. I'm saying most white people. Okay, because it's strange. I've spoken to you before. I'm Latino. I'm from Colombia, and I come from Afro-Colombian, and white people are the only people that I know that can call people nigger, they can call cockroach killers, they can call Hispanics all these things, they can call black people all these things. But if we say white people are racist, I have never seen such an uproar of offended, and they defend themselves. So I think, anything other than white, we walk on eggshells, and it's like being in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
It literally is. It's like, oh shit, a white person's coming in. Let me check myself. Oh, my husband's coming in. Let me check myself because I don't know what temperament he's going to be in today. And so when I'm in this New South Museum, and I give them so much props for putting up the truth, it is so overwhelming that you start sweating. It feels like having food poisoning, because that's the only thing I can tell you. It's food poisoning. Your stomach cramps up. If you don't feel anything when you walk through here, then you're not alive. I start sweating. I can't. They have the dinette in the diner, like the soda shops out, and where people sat there just to sit down and got their heads beaten, food thrown at them.
Yeah.
Then they have this little area where you watch where people would sit and Martin Luther King died and it's running on the TV. Can you imagine being a black child or a black adult who finally felt like something was going to come their way, and then he gets shot? And then you go to another room and you see the KKK, the hood inside this shadow box, and what the Jim Crow. And the one thing that I can tell you that stood out to me was there's this little TV thing, and they do this like flip pictures where it moves fast.
Yeah.
And what Jim Crow era used to do was they would take a black person and they would make them into devils. And then they would drag them behind a horse, or they make it look like they were chasing you. And they put fear into people's homes this way. They would put it on newspapers. This is a development from way back that white people are developed to believe that black people are scary. And it's never changed. It's never changed.
That has been the consistent narrative. As a matter of fact, modern day policing was started as slave patrols, basically saying we have to protect the good white folks from black people. It's always been about that.
And I think we forget to say that over and over again because we have so much going on, and I guess that's what we as people say. We defund the police, but what we should say is defund the slave patrol, because what it is that it's. So I always say is watch the words between the words. So we don't know unless we're going to go in for a job interview and we really know someone that works there. What is the rhetoric that they give these people? What do they tell them? Well, they say this zone and this zone has that much crime, right?
Yeah.
So then we're going to go and patrol this zone and this zone. What they're saying is we're going to do the enslaved patrol. And what happens is that people don't think that's true because they went and started this whole thing, I don't know what year, that they started hiring blacks and Asians and Hispanics to become cops. Because in all truth, they was all white.
Yeah.
And so in our minds, we're thinking, well, a Latino, a black, or another type of creed is not a racist. No, because they are.
But they're being placed into a racist system, and black faces and brown faces in white spaces does not change the structural nature of those spaces. It is a black cop, a Latino cop is no different than when Massa put a whip in the hand of a black enslaved person and told him to lord over his brothers and sisters out in the cotton field.
Because it is the fittest of survival. So when you're in that position, these other cops, like for example George Floyd, one of the cops is Asian. He's standing there. He's like, I just worked. These people are put in this place where they have forsaken their souls and their minds for money or for whatever, and it's exactly what you're saying. It's like they take the whip and they're like, well, I'm just gonna join in. And we are a society that we are fighting our souls, because I know for me, I'd be like, that, screw this job. But there are so many people that they've lost their mind. They drink in the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
They believe in this propaganda of fear. And it is a war. It is a war. I don't know any other way. Like for me, whatever's going on in Portland, if you really look and you know Portland, it is 90% white.
But this is what they've wanted.
Whatever,
this is what they've wanted for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah, they've wanted a race war. And so vigilantes leaving
And they're
their homes, leaving other states to go to Kenosha or to go to Portland is all part of this plan that we're going to start a race war.
And what is what it is shocking to people to see a 17-year-old with guns. It is shocking, but it's not shocking to maybe people who have grown up around. I would leave New York City to go to Pennsylvania for, the Poconos for the weekend. And you would see these white people with their little kids going to the gun range like it's like a picnic.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of cooking out, they're all strapped up shooting at the shooting range.
Yeah.
And unless you leave your society and your world, this has been going on for years. I mean, I'm going to be 48 years old. I was a little girl watching, like, what the hell is going on here? I always say I'm so grateful for growing up in New York City because I saw color. I saw creed. I know what it feels like. I don't know what it feels like to grow up in other places, but what I did do was when I moved to Chicago for my job, I got in a Winnebago and I went around. Wisconsin has always been a racist place. It's predominantly white. It is what it is. Then I'll say Minnesota's the same way. They're like, oh no, it's more progressive. I said progressive for white people, but not. It's still predominantly a white area where you live. I bow down to you for the fight that you have and the fire that you have. But it has been years and centuries of fighting for white, for what is I don't understand is that this is what the world, and this is what my friend told me, and this is the truth. What this country wanted was to wipe out the blacks the way they wiped out the Native Americans, or the Native Indians. They wanted to wipe them out. They wanted them to shut up and go to the corner. And the blacks are so strong. They're like, no, we're not. But even when they came to a point, even when you came to a point where you were like, just leave us alone, the obsession and the abuse is out of control. And if we have 1-800 call for domestic violence, because I had to get out of a 17-year mentally abusive relationship, and it took every ounce of me to get up and leave. You get up and leave a big house. You get up and leave, and you're like, I'm not going to be a housewife anymore. What am I going to do? The fear. That's what this is. This is trauma right now.
Yeah.
That black people have to get up again, and they got to fight for their rights, fight for a corner of this earth. And nobody wants to learn their history.
And that's the parallel that you talk about is many times our sisters in abusive relationships, they come, the man comes back, apologizes, they forgive, hope he's going to change. He does it again. They forgive, hope he's going to change. That describes Black America's relationship with America. America abuses us. They say, they apologize. We pronounce forgiveness. I mean, they murder us. We pronounce forgiveness. They shoot us. We pronounce forgiveness. I'm tired. I said this morning, I've got no more cheeks to turn. Okay. I'm tired of this turn the cheek, kumbaya, forgive your enemies. That is not a doctrine that white so-called Christians display. They don't adhere to that.
And that's what's going on right now. And that's why it's this, and it's so shameful. But it's like you've got to. Biden cannot win without the black vote. When Hillary and Trump was running, I didn't vote. For the first time since I was 18 years old, I didn't vote. And the reason why was I could not vote for Hillary for many personal reasons. And there was no way in hell I was voting for Trump because growing up in New York City, I already knew he was from the KKK. And I just felt depleted at that point. My biggest regret is that I didn't vote. But at the same time, here's where we are. And it's that one more begging the blacks and saying, this is it. Just vote him out. But I want everyone to understand that doesn't mean that Biden or his running mate is going to give you it all. It just means you need to get them out, and then this is the uprise. This is the rising up. To promise to ourselves, to yourselves, that this is it. Just get them out. Just go to those polls, get them out, and this is it. There will be no more compromise after this. There will be no more compromise after this. Because this is it. You cannot go back to this abusive relationship.
Not at all.
This is it.
Not at all.
Just hang in there until November. That's it. That's just hang in there until November and get into those polls, and everyone is going to be standing by your side. As a Latina, I am standing in front. I went by myself. I now live in the South. I now live outside of Charlotte. I drove by myself, got a hotel by myself, walked around, and I needed some sort of surgery on my knee. I limped by myself, and I went to that march by myself. I got lost. I think I did the march twice because I got lost. And then I ended up in the tent from heat stroke. And I swear that I'm going to be standing by everyone's side, every Black person, because I am losing my mind because I learned my history. This country was founded by immigrants. This country has been stolen. This land is podrido. We say it in Spanish. Is rotten from all the crimes that have been done to people. And there will, after this vote, there will be restitution for every single thing that has happened to Black people.
We need it. We need it to happen for sure. We need it to happen, and we need to get out there. I want to thank you for your call, sister, and appreciate you making that sacrifice to be at the march. 413-337-1867. 413-337-1867 is the number here if you want to chime in on the conversation. Vote 2020, election 2020. We need to be out there. We need to vote. Tomorrow, primary day here in Massachusetts. Y'all need to get out there. If you didn't early vote, if you didn't send in your ballot, you need to get out, put your mask on, socially distant. It'll be in effect. Get to your polling location and cast your ballot tomorrow on Tuesday. I have invited any of the candidates for office to jump in on my program this morning. So I don't know if any of them will, but if any of them would like to do so, they can do it. They can definitely do that. I'm willing to take y'all in. I got some of them texting me now. Your president is now texting for the 100th time law and order. While his people are out there murdering people, this saltine mayonnaise dripper has the nerve to be talking about law and order. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Bishop. You know, you're saying white people. Can you go by nationalities?
What's wrong?
I'm Greek.
So I'm supposed to know everybody's nationality. I'm supposed to know who's Greek, who's Italian, who's Polish, who's this, who's that. I'm supposed to know that. Do you know what part of Africa my ancestors came from? By looking at me or by my last name?
No, I think most of them came.
No, but you would call, but what would you call me then? You would call me Black.
The Africans have been here for 400 years.
No.
You don't get any more American than that.
What would you call me? What would you call me? Would you call me Black? Would you call me African American?
Well, we can do that. I'm 67.
No. I'm asking you. What would you call me?
A bishop, a colored person, an American.
A colored person. So you want me to call y'all by nationality? You want me to specify whether you from Greece or from Italy or from Poland, but you want to call me colored? Man, get off my line. He said colored. Dude said colored. Oh, Jesus, take the wheel. Ah, I can't. I can't with these people. 413-337-1867. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, I just don't get it. I don't understand. Um, uh, colored. Mm, woo. Lord help me. Good morning, caller. It's the colored man.
He said Kevin, but he did say he was 67.
But you know what? I don't even care if he's 67. Because even at 67, if we ain't been called colored long enough for you to know you ain't supposed to be calling us colored.
He could have said Negro. I'm just trying to find a measure of humor in this.
Yeah, I mean, he might as well have said N-word. But wait, he said, why are you referring to us as white people? Why can't you use nationality? Why can't you say Greek? Or like I'm supposed to look at white folks and know what part of Europe your ancestors come from. That's why I asked him, do you know what part of Africa my people came from? Because if you can't look at me and tell what part of Africa my people came from, how the hell I'm supposed to look at you and tell what part of Europe your people came from? Then I asked him, what would you call me? And he said colored.
I know. I just found it so amusing. I really did. Well, he didn't say he had black friends. Some of his best friends are black. But I just wanted to shed light on something. Do you know that the blacks?
I'm gonna get to your question. I see you, school committee woman Denise Hurst backstage. We're gonna get to you right after this call. Go right ahead, caller.
Did you know that a lot of blacks who live in Wisconsin have a name for it? They call it Mississippi. That's what they call it.
Okay.
Because it's north. A lot of people don't realize this. Wisconsin is the most segregated state in America.
That's not surprising.
That they house the blacks. Huh?
That's not surprising.
Yeah, they house the blacks all in the same neighborhood, and you cannot live in white sections in most of their cities. But the thing that I found so astonishing about this shooting is all the guy that shot the protesters. He shot 3 people, killed 2. Is that correct?
Yes.
But what I found so astonishing was he wasn't the only one down there with a gun. There were a lot of whites down there with guns, and the police were giving them Gatorade
water, patting them on the head and telling them, thank you for being here to help us keep the Negroes in control. Yeah.
Yes. And in Louisville, Kentucky, when a lot of blacks were protesting the shooting of Breonna Taylor, a lot of whites came down there with automatic rifles and machine guns.
But what does that say?
Why they were there.
What does that say? I want to thank you for your call. I got to get to these candidates. But what does that say about America when armed white vigilantes think it's their right to travel to where black people and their allies are protesting and carry guns so that they can keep us in order? What does that say about America? Wow. All right, I got backstage. I got Adam Gomez. I got Alex Morris. I got Denise Hurst. Denise Hurst is first up, candidate for state representative and current member of the Springfield School Committee. How are you today?
Good morning, Bishop Swan. I'm well. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So make your pitch. Tomorrow is primary election day, and you will know by the end of tomorrow whether or not you are the Democratic nominee for state representative. So tell our listeners why they should vote for you.
Absolutely. So thank you. You are right. Tomorrow is election day. So I am imploring everyone to make sure that they get out and exercise their right to vote. It is critically important that they do so. I also would humbly ask for their support and their vote for to be their next state representative for the Ninth Hampton district. I was born and raised here in this great city of Springfield. I spent the majority of my childhood growing up between Mason Square and the North End. I have spent 20 years working as a social worker, helping those who are most vulnerable to mental health and substance use. I also have spent 11 years on the school committee fighting for public education. And I have just been really blessed and honored to be able to serve the residents of Springfield and have used my platform to advocate for things such as racial justice, public education, um, food insecurity, homelessness, and a variety of issues, including gender equity, in my role as a school committee woman, as a commissioner, and have done that locally, statewide, and nationally. And I am looking forward to being able to be another voice under Beacon Hill and to help collectively bring change to Western Mass and in particular the great city of Springfield. And so if elected, or I shall say when elected tomorrow evening, I will be the only woman to ever hold this seat, and the only woman of color, right, as a Black, African American, and Latina woman. And so I just want the people to know that I've always prided myself on being accessible and available to what are the difficulties and the most concerning issues to our residents. And I want them to know that I will continue to be their voice and will continue to ensure that they are heard with Hearst. So
So
thank you very much.
how important is this election, both here regionally, and how important is the November election in general?
I mean, I don't even know if we can qualify how important it is. You know, I'm so glad you asked that question because one of the things that I shared with my husband yesterday as we were doing literature drops is that, you know, people tend to be a bit annoyed by all the phone calls they're getting and by, you know, people coming and doing door to door in the middle of a pandemic. But the issue is that if we really want to see change, right, if we don't want to continue to turn on our TVs and see police brutality and misconduct, if we don't want to continue to see the Western Massachusetts not have their fair share of PPE during the midst of a pandemic, we must vote. If we don't want to continue to see our economy, you know, struggle, then we have to ensure that we are voting not only tomorrow, but in November. It is so critical. And I know that people are frustrated with the number of phone calls that they're receiving from candidates and the mail that they're getting in the mail, and you know, people knocking on doors and leaving literature. But it's so important, and I actually applaud all of the candidates who have gone out and done that work because they know that this is a time for change and we must strike while the iron is hot. People are listening. Just like you said, it's not even a local issue, right? It's regional, it's national. We
Right.
have to we have to be a part of that change, and the only way to do that is to get to the ballot box, which means to exercise our right to vote. And, you know, and to be kind, right? Like, you know, don't just hang up the phone on the people who are calling. They're calling you because you are super voters. They're calling you because you are, you know, in a database. You are a registered voter. They're calling because they need you to get out there and vote. And yes, it's frustrating, but it really truly is a call to action. And so just think about that every time you decide you're going to hang up or say stop calling. You know, it really is a call to action to make sure that their voice is heard.
Absolutely. Well, the best to you on tomorrow,
Thank
and
you,
I'm
and thank
sure
you
I'm
for
sure
all
you're
that
hitting
you
the
guys have.
streets.
Thank you for all that you do and all that the NAACP is also doing in making sure that people realize how important tomorrow and November 3rd is.
Absolutely. Take
All
care.
right. Take care. You too.
Next up, I've got current city councilor Adam Gomez and candidate for state senate. Councilor,
Good morning. How are you, sir?
what's good?
You know, I'm here in my backyard with
You
the team.
barbecuing?
Well, we barbecued last night.
Okay.
We barbecued last night. No, I'm here down here in Brightwood here with the team, going through our last minute you know, things that we need to take care of for tomorrow. Tomorrow's D-Day. Tomorrow's the day. You know, we had early
You call it
voting.
D-Day.
Yeah, we're calling it D-Day. That's the day that's gonna happen. The day, D-Day. And we're saying it just like that, how we would say it in the hood, right? D-Day. So yeah, my name's Adam Gomez. For the listeners and the watchers that don't know who I am, I'm the vice president of the Springfield City Council. I'm rocking my People's Action hat. It was one of my national endorsements that I received. It's an organization I've been working with since about 2014 when it comes to people and planet in the nation and different efforts when it comes to Black Lives Matters. That's how I got involved with Black Lives Matters, and it's an inception with Neighbor to Neighbor, a local organization. So, we're about putting power into low-income communities. In 2015, I was elected. They said that we couldn't do it. Right now, they're still saying that we can't do it. I think that history is going to be made tomorrow. Regardless, we have a lot of people, a lot of young people that are activated, ready to go, part of this campaign. I'm running on a platform that puts people first when it comes to housing, when it comes to the environment, also economic development and communities of color. I think the establishment has said that that they're the ones that know how to bring back the bacon, but I want to figure out who's eating bacon because we're still eating hash browns. When it comes to in the last decade or so, why is our communities of color still the poorest in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? There's just real things that are going on. This is a district of tale of two cities. There's people that are eating, there's people that are starving. I'm telling people that a vote for me is a vote for your child, is a vote for your grandmother, is a vote for yourself. Voting for me, you should be able to look into the mirror and say that, that guy right there, he cares. Not saying that, we don't have good candidates out there, fighting the good fight. But I think genuinely, with my upbringing and my activism, I think that I bring a difference and a stronger and a bolder voice to the Hampden district. West Springfield and Chicopee are very diverse cities, but when you look at the elected officials that lead those cities, it hasn't been yet that we've had a person of color elected over there. Outside of that, the Hampton district was created to be a seat of color, and yet we've had challenges before, but we haven't been able. Springfield hasn't been able to really have a state senators for the past, I don't know, about 20, 25 years since Lyndon Malconian. Not saying that these two gentlemen that represent Springfield don't fight tooth and nail, but I think that we have a chance when it comes to the temperature and what's going on to really bring a senator that lives in the district, that understands the dynamic of the communities that and the diversity that encompass this district. But I know that with somebody that's willing to bring all sides together, so we can start the healing after September 1st, bring our party together, is something that I'm looking forward to doing. But I know that there's a lot more work to get done. So regardless of win, lose, or draw, voting in September 1st, we need people to still get activated because we need to go vote in November. And if folks haven't really figured out the census, please fill out that census. We have to play long ball, and some people got to understand that it might not happen today, but we're almost there. The great MLK said that he's seen the promised land, but he wasn't going to get there. And maybe we're living in those times in transition, in the time of Pisces, not to put a little astrology over our faith, but that this change is here and the change is coming. I'm just really excited to be a part of this during a pandemic. I know that we have been put into extraordinary times, but we are we're moving in faith, but moving with hard work. We're not taking no days off. We're waking up early. We're going to sleep late, and we plan on doing that once we're elected state senator of the Hampden district in Chicago.
How you feeling about your chances tomorrow?
I feel real good. People are telling us the polls, and nobody knows this. Some polls are out there showing that 50% of the vote is still undecided. That's why we have them on their heels. A lot of people. This is a race that has flown under the radar a little bit with the Kennedy and Markey race, and also with Neil and Morse. And
We got
folks
we
are
got we got Mayor Morris waiting in the wings right now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna I'm just gonna say this. Tomorrow, I need volunteers. I need your help. We want to make history, but outside of that, we want you to come vote and vote with your heart and vote with somebody that's gonna really, exemplify everything that Springfield and the Hampton district is about. So, with much have a candid love for you, and I appreciate everything that you do for our community and our nation. Like I said, power to the people. Let's keep on moving. And September Tuesday, I can't wait till September 2nd.
All right, I understand. I understand. The best to you. Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
Thank you,
Keep it
guys.
keep it grinding. All right, listen, I got Mayor Morse coming up next, but let me sign out of the WTCC portion and then continue on with the rest of the audience. My time is up with them at 9 o'clock. So I want you to remember tomorrow, you all need to be at the polls voting. If you haven't early voted, if you haven't sent in your vote, you need to be at the polls voting on tomorrow. Also, remember our Wednesday Bible study will take place at 7 p.m. Remember the upcoming NAACP Freedom Fund Symposium. You need to get over to our Facebook page and register for that right now. The great Freddie Haynes is our keynote speaker on September 17th, and our jurisdictional convocation September 9th through the 12th. I got candidates coming up right after this break. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, those on WTCC, God loves you and so do I. The rest of my audience, stay with us. We're coming right back. All right, we're back with you. Overdrive. Listen, candidate for the U.S. Congress and the current mayor of the city of Holyoke, Alex Morse, is here. Hey, Mayor.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm actually here in Springfield knocking on doors already this morning in Duggan
Oh,
Park.
all right.
So.
Gotcha. So tell everybody why they should vote for you for Congress.
Well, great. I appreciate the opportunity, and we're just one day away from this election. And first, it's important for people to realize that this will be decided tomorrow. There's no Republican running in the general election. So this is a fight between Congressman Neal and me. And whoever wins tomorrow becomes the next member of Congress to represent Springfield in the entire district. And I've been mayor of Holyoke the last 9 years. We've made a lot of progress, but without having a strong federal partner and a federal government that actually invests in public health and education, combats the opioid epidemic, we're only going to be able to make so much progress on the local level. And I know I'm challenging Congressman Richard Neal, who's been in Washington in Congress for 32 years. He won his first election in 1988, essentially unchallenged. I believe he wants to handpick his successor, but this is the people's seat. And yes, Congressman Neal has power, and I thank him for his service, but it's a different time than it was 32 years ago. He has power as the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, but he didn't use that power to hold Donald Trump accountable. The most dangerous, corrupt, racist, xenophobic president in our lifetime refused to ask for the tax returns and is one of only 2 Democratic chairmen that haven't had a single oversight hearing on this president. Instead, he's using his power to benefit and fight for the corporate and special interests that have invested vast amounts of money in his campaign. And so whether it's banning low-income people in this country from using the free tax filing service with the IRS, using his power to kill a bill that would have allowed the government to negotiate lower drug prescription prices, and just this past December, single-handedly killing a bill that would have limited surprise medical bills for people right here in Springfield and across the district. And when you look at outcomes in Springfield and across the district, you would never know we have one of the most powerful members of Congress representing us. I mean, Springfield's still the asthma capital of the entire country. We haven't had new schools built in decades. We have dozens of cities and towns without basic access to broadband internet. And in the middle of a pandemic, we have hospitals closing, birthing centers closing in communities of color, hundreds of inpatient psychiatric beds closing, and we have a congressman that refuses to show up. He hasn't had a town hall in over 3 years. And I want to go there to fight for a healthcare system that believes healthcare is a human right, to get money out of politics, to fight for immigrant and racial justice in our community, to sign on to Ayanna Pressley's Breathe Act, to combat racism in all of our institutions as a government, to reckon with our racist history as a country, tackle the racial wealth gap in this country, And we have a congressman, again, that I thank him for his service, that, again, just doesn't understand the urgency of the moment we're in right now. And so tomorrow, it's an incredibly important election. It's neck and neck. We've been knocking on doors and traveling the district the last couple of weeks, in particular this last weekend. We'll be in Springfield most of the day knocking on doors. And it's time that people get to the polls. In September 2018, only 12,000 people voted in Springfield out of 109,000 registered voters. And so your voice matters, and more people show up, the more stake you have in the future of this district and the future of this community.
So let me ask you this. How important is this? I know about tomorrow is extremely important here in the district. How important is the November election nationally in general?
Oh, I mean, this is, I know people say it like every 4 years, it's like the most important election of our lifetime, but like, I think people really mean it this time. I mean, we cannot survive another 4 years of Donald Trump and the people around him. I mean, from every issue. I mean, this guy is deliberately destroying our democracy. I mean, and it's just insane on every level. I mean, the policies that he's implemented, the people that he's holding back, they're intentionally dividing this country. I mean, the open racism, emboldening people at every level in every state, including here in Western Mass, to be open bigots that are being openly celebrated and protected.
All right. I'm trying to see, did I lose you? Your sound. All right. If he comes back in, we'll bring him back in. But until then, let me bring up current member of the Springfield City Council and candidate for state rep in the 9th Hampden District, Councilor Orlando Ramos. You there, Councilor Ramos?
I am now. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me on your show.
We'll get back to Alex Moore after Councilor Ramos. He kind of went out, and we'll get back and get his thoughts again. Go ahead, Councilor.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. We're one day away from the election tomorrow. So, I'm Orlando Ramos, 4-term city councilman. I'm a 2-term council president, and I'm currently the chairperson of the Public Safety Committee. I'm very proud of my record on the Springfield City Council. Born and raised in the city of Springfield, this is the city that I love and the community where I chose to raise my daughter, who's now going into the 11th grade. This election is different than past elections because of everything that's going on in the world and this COVID-19 pandemic that has devastated our community. Many people have lost loved ones. Many people who have lost their jobs because of COVID. I was one of them. And unfortunately, I was laid off by my employer because of COVID. So I completely understand what people are going through with their financial struggles. I am no stranger to hard work. I come from, I have a background as a carpenter, where I've been a member of the Carpenters Union for almost 20 years now. And I'm very proud of I'm very proud of what I've been able to accomplish, and proud of my record on the Springfield City Council. Some of my highlights as a city councilman, I led the charge to bring police body cameras to the city of Springfield. I was the lead sponsor on an ordinance banning facial surveillance technology, which is a technology that discriminates against people of color. And I sponsored a senior tax work-off program to give seniors the opportunity to work off a portion of their property taxes. Many other accomplishments that I could go on, but those are just some of the highlights of some of the things that I've been able to accomplish. I think because of what's going on right now with COVID-19 and potentially the fact that we're potentially facing a recession, I think experience is important in this election. And I think it's important for the voters of the 9th Hampden District to elect someone who has experience with legislation. I'm the only candidate in this race that has any experience as a legislator, and the only candidate in this race that has ever written a law. So I think that's important for people to remember when they go to the polls tomorrow. We need someone that's going to be ready to hit the ground running on day one, and I am that candidate.
So how important is this election for the region, and also Talk a little bit about how important is the general election in November nationally.
Well, for the reason, for the reasons that I just listed, I think it's important that we have someone experienced to fight for our community, right? Because look, we've been told over and over that the resources at the state level are going to be much more limited than they have been in the past, and so we need someone that's going to stand up for our community and make sure that we fight to get what we deserve and to get what we need here in our community. So the pie has gotten smaller at the state level, and it's important that we send a delegation to Boston to make sure that Springfield and Chicopee gets its fair share. And then the November election, again, it's I can't think of any other way to describe it other than the most important election of certainly our generation, right? I mean, the things that we have seen over the past 4 years have been beyond embarrassing, and it's gotten to the point where it's cost us lives. Right, it's no longer a joke. A lot of people sort of took it as a joke in 2016. Oh, it's going to be entertaining to see what he does in the next 4 years. It's not entertaining. It's dangerous. It's cost us a lot of lives, and I hope that people realize that every vote counts, and that it's not a game. We need to get people out to vote and get this guy out of office.
All right, best to you as you continue on the last trek of
Thank
this
you.
journey. It's going to be an interesting 24 hours for you.
Working hard. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Let me bring back on the scene who was getting his thoughts out, Mayor Morris.
Yeah, sorry about that, Bishop. I don't know what's going on. I'm out here.
No problem.
Like I said,
Technology is not perfect.
Yeah, no, I think you were asking about the importance of the November election, and I was just saying, I mean, everybody just has to do everything we can to get this man out of the White House, and I'm not completely optimistic that he will leave on his own accord. And so I think we'd all take a little bit of pleasure of seeing him being dragged out of the White House if need be. But I think whether we agree with everything that Joe Biden stands for or not, our country and our democracy is at stake. And as Orlando just said, this isn't a joke. It's not a drill. And when we think about the Supreme Court, cabinet secretaries, what this will mean for cities and towns here in the district, we need a Democrat in the White House to work with the Democratic Congress to protect healthcare, to fight the climate crisis, to get money out of politics, and every other issue that we care about.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you seems like you're out there doing the work right now. This last 24 hours stretch. The best to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Bishop. Have a wonderful day.
All right. You too. Take care.
Take care.
All right. Those are some of the candidates for elected office, and we'll likely have some more of them who will be chiming in before we get off the air today. Wanted to bring them to you. 4137. I almost gave the number in the studio. I'm not in the studio. I'm still doing this remote. 413-337-1867. Everyone keeps repeating this is the most important election of our generation, of this time. It is extremely important. It's going to determine a lot, in terms of the direction that America goes in. I mean, just look and see what is happening. It's insanity. Some of the things that are going on. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
I had a quick question that I didn't get to ask this of you. Because there's so much going on, what is your feeling, because we're on the topic of election, what is your feeling about if he starts that propaganda of not leaving office?
Well, here's the deal. The Constitution, and although we have an inaugural and someone takes the oath of office, it's so on and so forth, the Constitution doesn't necessarily require that. The Constitution basically says that the newly elected president shall take office on January 20th. So the bottom line is whoever is elected becomes the president on January 20th. And if Trump is having a hissy fit and a temper tantrum because he got defeated and doesn't want to leave office on January 20th, if let's say it's Joe Biden who is elected, um, he automatically becomes the commander in chief, and he can then order the military or whoever to drag his orange behind out of the White House. That I mean, if it comes to that, that's the way I see it going.
And that's important for everyone that's listening, because a lot of people listen to you, that it is important to go out and vote, because there's so many people that are exhausted, and they have this fear that government is broken and that what is the point of voting? And they cannot, this is not the time to believe that.
Yeah.
We have to believe that we have a voice. And we need. This is not a joke anymore. This is not ABC reality TV. This is a very serious time, and this is the most important historically, because this is the one thing that I have been studying in these last few years. When I went into, and I'm still like Michelle Obama, in a small depression over the fact that he's president, that he believes he's Mussolini.
Yeah. Yeah, he wants to be. He wants to be.
He wants to be
yeah.
Mussolini, and Putin wants to be Hitler. And those two were best friends. And if you read your history, and everything he's been doing, he's been testing. When he took out the bans and he started robbing people, he's testing the waters. We have so much more power than we know, and it's time to rise. And that was all I wanted to hear, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
All right, you too. Take care.
Thanks, bye.
413-337-1867. So, there was a stream of inflammatory tweets that 46-1 sent out on Sunday. And then he retweets this picture of a caravan of his supporters going to Portland, Oregon, who confronted protesters, and one man was shot dead. And Trump was saying, bring the National Guard, etc. So he never said bring the National Guard to Kenosha when his supporter, the white supremacist 17-year-old, murdered two protesters and injured another. Basically, I agree that he is recklessly encouraging violence. What type of president recklessly encourages violence? But you remember now, these are his very fine people. He referred to that caravan of gun-toting folks going to Portland as patriots. See, gun-toting white folks who are going to keep niggas in check are patriots and very fine people, according to this guy. And his entire presidency has basically been characterized by a staunch refusal to reach out to any Americans outside of his racist base. He wants to govern all of America, but he doesn't want to be the president of all Americans, just of his base. And the latest rhetoric coming from this, who I called at the march, Mango Mussolini, and from his surrogates, it took it a step further. It was an explicit effort, basically, to cast Democrat cities as threatening and lawless, and to cast an America that doesn't have him at the helm as a dangerous place for his people to live. But all of the pictures and depictions of this dangerous America they want to avoid are happening in Trump's America. Think about that. It's happening in Trump's America. Let me see if I can play for you. If I can get it up here. Um, if I can play for you the well, I was going to try to play for you. All right, I got my own technical difficulties, so um, I have to get it up at some other point. I was going to play for you the speech from the march on Washington, but it's on my page, and you can check it out there. Or maybe I can pull it up here and still get it played. Um, Once again, I was honored to be asked to speak during the march, um, along with a number of great speakers, activists, um, folks that are working in the trenches on a day by day basis. Um, I was glad to be there. My wife drove me down, so got to hang out for the weekend with her, both in D.C. and in Philadelphia, where I went to preach after that. Um, some great preachers and colleagues of mine are also speaking. Dr. Jamal Bryant, Bishop Darren Moore, and some others. Yeah, here it is. Let me at least play. I can at least play the audio, even if I'm a little handicapped in terms of getting the video up. So let me at least get the audio. I'm sure many of you who are listening have already seen it, but for those who didn't get an opportunity, here it is. Well, I thought I was going to be able to get the audio up, but doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that. I don't know, y'all. I guess they don't want me to play this for you. I don't know. I don't know why they don't want me to play this. So anyway, oh, there it is. There we go. All right, I think I got it now. All right, here's the audio from my very brief um, speech at the March on Washington on Friday.
I'm black. I'm other. I'm not like them. My music is too loud. My hair is too kinky, too nappy, too dreaded. My pants are too saggy. My shoes are tied. I'm wearing a hoodie. I walk too fast. I look intimidating. I'm a threat, a menace, a societal scourge, a casualty, a neighborhood nuisance. I can't win. I can't get a job. I can't get a raise. I can't find respect. I can't make ends meet. I can't breathe. What does it mean to be black in America? As a black person in America, I can get killed on the street for no reason. Shot in the park for playing with a toy. Choked to death just because. Murdered for being black in a white neighborhood. Shot in my car while rushing home to get medicine to my daughter. Killed in the stairwell for trying to catch an elevator. Gunned down in Walmart for holding a toy, all for no price, for no ransom, for no reward, just because I've been labeled as less than human. I'm black. I'm other. I'm not like them. My music is too loud. My hair is too kinky, too nappy, too dreaded. My pants are too saggy. My shoes are tied. I'm wearing a hoodie. I walk too fast. I look intimidating. I'm a threat, a menace, a societal scourge, a casualty, a neighborhood nuisance. I can't win. I can't get a job. I can't get a raise. I can't find respect. I can't make ends meet. I can't breathe. What do I do when I can't breathe? We reject the process of dehumanization. We see everybody as our neighbors. We go back to God, who is the source of our breath. We passed the John Lewis voting rights bill. We passed the George Floyd justice and policing bill, and we throw bigotry and fascism and a Mango Mussolini out of the White House by going to the polls on November 3rd and voting in record numbers until we get our breath back.
And that's what we got to do. We got to go to the polls not only on November 3rd, but we've got to go to the polls on tomorrow here in Massachusetts and any other place where they're holding primaries. And we've got to vote. And Mayor Morris, he hit the nail on the head with talking about the minuscule numbers of people who came out in the last election. We've got to step up our game, in terms of turning out folks to the polls to vote. We can't afford for 5 and 7% of the voting public to be getting out there. We need for you to be there. Don't make any excuses, y'all. Don't do that. Don't do that. Not this time. If you're registered, get out there and vote. Okay? Do that for me. I got another candidate for office in the building, Mr. Jake Oliveira. And let me bring him up on the scene. Hey, Jake.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How you feeling?
I'm doing great, thank you, especially since I don't have an opponent in tomorrow's primary election. So a little bit easier than most of the candidates you've had so far today.
You got one in November, though.
I do have a competitive general election. So the 7th Hampden District, which I'm running to represent in the legislature, includes all of Ludlow, 3/4 of Belchertown, part of the city of Chicopee, and 3 precincts in the city of Springfield, including parts of Indian Orchard and a small sliver of 16 acres. So I've been getting out there. Rep. Tom Petrolotti, who's represented this district for the last 34 years, decided not to seek re-election this November. Believe it or not, I'm 34 years old, so my entire life it's been represented by one individual. And so I'm hoping to provide some of that generational change and youthful enthusiasm coupled with my experience as a Ludlow School Committee member for the last 12 years to really bring meaningful change to the Western Mass delegation.
Wow. Okay. So other than really kind of coasting through tomorrow, but then gearing up for the next couple of months until November 3rd, tell us why November, not only regionally, but nationally, is important.
Well, there's nothing about coasting tomorrow. You don't take anything for granted. Even when you're unopposed on a ballot, you want to make sure that you get your supporters out to the polls and make sure that you beat the blanks. So one reason why I decided to get in this race is because I'm passionate about fighting hard for Western Massachusetts. And I've spent nearly a decade and a half working with legislators in my day job, working for the 9 Massachusetts state universities, coupled with my experience working within the legislature as a legislative aide for now State Senator Mike Rodrigues. I feel I can hit the ground running on day one to build upon the relationships that I've already built so far. So, for instance, in Western Massachusetts, we tend to, typically get the short end of the stick on a lot of different initiatives. So most recently during this pandemic, we've had a shortage of PPE, we've had a shortage of testing sites. And I feel that as a legislator, I can partner up with my fellow state reps and state senators to make sure Western Mass's voice is heard up on Beacon Hill and we get our fair share of resources. And that's what I plan on fighting for. So as an educational advocate, public education has been a priority of mine for the last decade and a half. I've advocated for the Student Opportunity Act, which would pump in millions of dollars into our schools, into Western Mass, particularly in the city of Springfield. We need legislators who will fight to ensure that the city of Springfield and all of our communities receive their fair share of educational funding. We also need to make sure that we invest in transportation and infrastructure. And I'm not just talking about our roads and bridges, but our information highways as well, including access to high-speed internet, which at an affordable rate for folks, as more people are telecommuting, as our students are going back to school via online and remote learning, we need to have the infrastructure built up to actually support that. And I'm very passionate about ensuring that we protect the right to vote. Even here in Massachusetts, I think I'm so glad to see that you went down to Washington as part of the Civil Rights March, and celebrating that 57th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. Right now, there are things that Massachusetts can do to make voting easier and more inclusive. I think we've taken great steps during this pandemic to expand early voting, to expand vote by mail, to allow for greater access to people to access the polls. But there's more work that we can do. It shouldn't take a pandemic to actually, improve the way we operate as far as voting is concerned. And as a legislator, I'm going to look to expand and make sure that we protect the right to vote, and expand to make sure that it makes it easier, particularly for communities of color and young people, to actually vote in elections. And I think that's an important part that where the state can actually play in it, working with our local city and town clerks and election officers, working with the Secretary of State's office, and making sure that we have a 21st century voting system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the best to you.
Thank you, sir.
In November, well, tomorrow and in November. And thank you for the service that you provided both on the school committee and wishing you the best in your race to represent the 7th District.
Great. Thank you, Bishop. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Make sure to get out to vote tomorrow, everyone.
Absolutely. All right. Listen. 2 things I need you to do before I get off the air. I need you to go over to the NAACP Facebook page. Click under the events for the Freedom Fund Symposium. Click where it says tickets. Register for it. Listen, I've got a presentation on prostate cancer. I've got some good information, some entertainment. Dynamic speaker, the Reverend Dr. Freddie Haynes from Dallas, Texas, will be our speaker at our virtual symposium. But you need to register. So go do that now. Tell somebody else to do that now. And I need you to put a pin in. Save the date for the Nova Scotia Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction of the Church of God in Christ, our annual convocation. It's taking place on September 9th through the 12th. Okay? 9th through the 12th. 9th through the 12th. You need to be a part of that. All right? Ruby Holland will be our speaker on Women's Night on Thursday the 10th. Bishop J. Lewis Felton will be our speaker on Friday the 11th. Then 2 dynamic bishops, Bishop Elijah Hankerson and Bishop Vincent Matthews, will be our workshop presenters on September the 12th. So save those dates. Be a part of our convocation. And be with me on Wednesday night for our Bible study. And then Thursday night, we'll be doing Bishop Swan Live. It's always my pleasure being with you. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me. Always remember, God loves you, and so do I. Peace. Y'all be good.